Hello, my name is Sullivan Shaw, and this is my Elitism versus Pluralism Discussion Post. Alright, so from this week's readings and lectures, I learned a lot about elitism and pluralism, but mainly how they represent two competing theories about how democracy functions in practice. Elitism argues that a small group of wealthy, educated, and well-connected people dominate political decision-making. C. Wright Mills described this as the power elite, composed of corporate, military, and political leaders who share common interests and social backgrounds. Pluralism, by contrast, as Robert Dahl explains, assumes that policymaking is open, competitive, with many interest groups influencing outcomes through bargaining, advocacy, and elections. In Dahl's view, power is dispersed among various people, labor unions, business associations, advocacy groups, and citizens, making democracy responsive when people organize. However, as Dr. Barkat notes, even pluralism recognizes inequalities. Only those with resources and education often have the time or money to participate effectively. One major policy addressing homelessness is the McKinley-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. Originally introduced in the U.S. House of Representatives by Rep. Stuart B. McKinley and Senator Robert Stafford. The bill was passed by Congress and signed into law by President Ronald Reagan on July 22, 1987. It remains the cornerstone of federal homelessness policy, funding emergency shelters, transitional housing, and educational services for homeless children. Its history demonstrates pluralist dynamics, advocacy networks, faith-based groups, and local government successfully pressured Congress to act on a growing social crisis. Yet elite influence remained evident as the bill's final version limited spending and framed homelessness largely as a state responsibility. Panhandling laws show the ongoing tension between federal protections and state restrictions. Federal courts have repeatedly ruled that laws banning peaceful solicitation violate the First Amendment's protection of free speech, as seen in Norton v. City of Springfield and Reed v. Town of Gilbert. The ACLU has successfully challenged such laws in multiple states, arguing that criminalizing begging targets poverty rather than behavior. However, state and local courts sometimes uphold limited restrictions like prohibiting solicitation in roadways or near ATMs, claiming public safety grounds. This disparity shows how federal precedent favors civil liberties, while local ordinances often reflect elitist pressures to maintain clean public spaces at the expense of the poor. The policymaking process in the U.S. reflects both elitism and pluralism. While pluralism allows many groups to compete, wealth and influence definitely still determine who gains access. The wealth gap, where the top 1% holds over 30% of national wealth, shows how elites shape agendas through campaign financing and lobbying. Yet pluralist channels like advocacy, voting, and local organizing still matter. My takeaway from this is that democracy works best when citizens are informed, organized, and persistent in holding leaders accountable for decisions.